Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, June 8th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Saturday, Major League Baseball. First up, we see the London Series game between the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. This one, 1:10 Eastern. It's going to be on Fox. Ranger Suarez and Romanelli, a pair of lefties on the mound in this one. Now, this first game, the Mets are going to be the official home team. The Phillies will be the official home team on Sunday, so keep that in mind. But, you know, in this matchup, I mean, we've seen a few London games, especially recently, and they've been pretty high scoring. I mean, last year we saw the Cubs and the Cardinals play in a 7-5 and 9-1 final scores, and then back in 2019, but the big Yankees Red Sox series, those games were really high scoring, 17-13 and then 12-8 in favor of the Yankees in both of those. So, you know, we've seen 50 runs in 4 games basically in the last 4, you know, in London. And when you got Ranger Suarez pitching as well as he has, but you know, the last time Suarez pitched at a tough stadium, a very hitter-friendly park like London, was Coors Field, and we know that he struggled mightily in that one. Gave up 4 earned runs, 5 total runs, a homer, 4 walks to go with it in a Phillies loss. So while the Mets struggled quite a bit against lefties at the beginning and middle of May, they actually, you know, really turned things around. And now in the last 30 days, they're one of the best lineups in baseball against lefties. So I think they can get to Suarez. Shamanai, I also think, while he's pitched well overall this season, still has a very tough matchup against the Philadelphia Phillies, who are also top 10 in OPS and ISO against lefties in the last month. And Manaya's last game against the Diamondbacks was not sharp. He had 10 strikeouts, but he had 5 earned runs, a home run. He's made 3 straight games, giving up at least 1 home run. So for me, you know, the Mets bullpen, we know, had a really great start of the season, hasn't been sharp since. I think we see a lot of runs in this one. I'm going to go with the over in the Phillies-Mets game. Next up, the Atlanta Braves taking on the Washington Nationals. Charlie Morton and Mackenzie Gore are your starters. Pretty tough game, in my opinion. You know, to me, when you look at the Nationals, they've struggled against right-handed pitching in the last month, but they were able to get to Charlie Morton pretty recently. They scored 8 runs on him in 12 base hits and about 5 innings of work, 5 2/3 innings. So they crushed him in that game, and it's tough to, you know, to go against them in this spot. But also, you got the Braves facing Mackenzie Gore, who's not been as good at home this season as he's been on the road. And, you know, the Braves, they've actually been pretty solid against left-handed pitching in the last month. So to me, I think both offenses could get on the board early. At the end of this game, though, I do trust the Braves bullpen and their bats if it's a close game late. When you look at the Braves bullpen, basically from the beginning of the season, solid ERA, solid expected numbers. The Nationals, the strikeouts per 9 in that bullpen starting to dwindle a little bit, and that's why we've seen this team, who was top 5, top 10 in xFIP in the bullpen for a majority of the season so far, now fall to 14th. So I worry about that. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves here and a lean on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Simeon Woods Richardson for Minnesota, no official starter for the Buccos. The Pirates in the last month, 18th in isolated power and 23rd in team OPS against right-handed pitching. So not great numbers. You add a low walk rate and a very high strikeout rate at 26.9%, which in the last month is the highest strikeout rate in baseball. I think that, you know, I think Woods Richardson can put together a bounce back start here. He's struggling in the last game against the Astros, but it was still good enough for the Twins to go on to win that game, 4-3 the final score. And in fact, the Twins have won each of his last 3 starts now. I think he's got potential. I think he's pitched pretty well, and the expected numbers aren't miserable. So I think Woods Richardson gives the Twins 4 to 5 decent innings. You hand it over to a solid bullpen that the Twins have, and you know, the Pirates, no official starter like we mentioned. If this is more of a bullpen game, that Pirates bullpen, not great. A 4.53 ERA and a 4.35 xFIP, which is ranked 24th in baseball. So I think the Twins can get to him. Give me the Minnesota Twins in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Oakland Athletics. Kevin Gausman and Luis Medina are your starters. I like the under in this one. You know, I think Gausman bounces back. He really struggled in that last game, but that was against the Orioles. We know one of the better lineups in baseball, especially, you know, they're really surging against righties recently. And, you know, he gave up 6 runs, 3 home runs, but before that was pitching really well. And I think he bounces back against an ace lineup that we know has not been great in the last month. On the other side, Luis Medina, his first start of the season, really strong. 5 2/3 innings, no earned runs, just 1 unearned run with 6 strikeouts against a tough Braves lineup. So, you know, the Blue Jays, we know it's been very inconsistent for their offense this season. more so to the negative things. They have this, even though they have a lot of talent on paper in the lineup, it just hasn't really done much. And I think we see a low-scoring game here. I'd also say maybe take a shot here with the Athletics, as I think the value lies with them. But give me the under in Blue Jays A's. Next up, the San Francisco Giants taking on the Texas Rangers. No official starter for San Francisco, but we should see Andrew Heaney for the Rangers. Andrew Heaney probably coming off his best start of the year thus far. It was 6 innings, a shutout ball, 7 strikeouts, and the Rangers wanted to win that game 6-0. But that was against the Miami Marlins, who in the last 30 days, and really overall this season, have been one of the weakest lineups in baseball against left-handed pitching. Now you look at the San Francisco Giants, they're number 4 in team OPS, number 3 in isolated power, have a high walk rate at 10.9%, which could be tricky for a starter who has control issues in Andrew Heaney, and a pretty low strikeout rate at 21.4%, right around league average. So to me, I think this is not a great matchup for Heaney, who has pitched better on the road than he has at home with the 5.16 ERA at home. And we know Heaney's not been a very profitable starting pitcher this season. While the Rangers have won each of his last 2 starts, before that they had lost 3 straight, and they had a start to the season of 1-9 in his first 10 games on the mound, which is obviously one of the least profitable pitchers in baseball. I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants here. This bullpen, if it's a bullpen game, I've mentioned it a few times, the expected numbers are really sharp, so we do expect positive regression going forward. Give me the Giants on the money line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Grayson Rodriguez and Taj Bradley are your starters. The one concern with Taj Bradley's game has always been he gives up a lot of sharp contact, and that can usually lead to a lot of home runs given up and extra base hits. And he's got great strikeout stuff and a lot of potential, but the sharp contact's still an issue. And we saw 4 home runs given up against these Orioles in his last start back on June 1st, and 9 earned runs, 9 base hits. It was a few walks as well. And, it's just tough to have a lot of faith in this spot because the Orioles have just been crushing right-handed pitching. They're number 2 now in the last month, only to the New York Yankees in isolated power against righties. And Bradley, already struggling against this lineup, has to face the same lineup twice in the same week. It's a pretty brutal spot. Grayson Rodriguez didn't pitch against the Rays in that series, and he hasn't faced the Rays all season. So I give him the advantage there. I got to go with the Orioles in this game on the money line. And next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Chicago White Sox. Brian Bayo and Nick Nastrini are your starters. Too much of a lopsided pitching matchup here. I got to go with the Red Sox and lay the 1.5 runs on the run line. Nastrini's got potential, but just not working right now at the major league level. 0-5 with that 9.74 ERA. He has been a bit better at home, but not by enough for me to take a chance here with Chicago, because it's not just the starting pitching, it's been the bullpen. We know especially that bullpen has blown a lot of leads recently, and the lineup has just been very inconsistent. So, Bayo, while he's not in great form right now, his last game, 4 earned runs given up, he still is a pretty efficient starting pitcher. He went 6 1/3 innings in that game. The Red Sox are 3-2 in his last 5 starts, so not terrible there. I'm going to go with the Red Sox here and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to see Ben Brown and Andrew Abbott as your starters. Andrew Abbott gave up 6 earned runs and 2 home runs in his last home start back on May 28th, but he still has a 3.62 home ERA this year. Shows you he's actually pitched at Great American Ballpark quite well this year outside of that one bad game. And you're facing a Cubs lineup here that has not hit lefties too well in the last 30 days. I think Abbott has a decent spot here to bounce back. And Ben Brown struggled against these Reds in that last game, June 2nd. 5 earned runs, a home run. Similar to a guy like Taj Bradley, Brown's got excellent strikeout stuff, but if he does get hit, usually a lot of sharp contact, and the home run ball is a big concern. So when you're pitching at Great American Ballpark, facing a pretty powerful lineup and facing the same lineup that you faced just last week, it's a pretty tough spot to be in. So give me the Cincinnati Reds. Abbott didn't face the Cubs in that series, so I give him the advantage, and I like the Reds in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Detroit Tigers. No official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change. But right now I'm seeing Freddie Peralta and Casey Mize as the starters. Casey Mize has just not been in great form this year. 4.7 ERA. The control's been a concern. The big concern for me is the strikeout numbers. Only 38 Ks in 53 2/3 innings. Not what you want to see from Mize. And I worry about him here against the Brewers. Tough lineup, obviously. Freddie Peralta, if he is in fact the starter, has pitched well this year. He's had a few hiccups. We saw that towards the middle of the month of May, but since then he's given up 3 earned runs or fewer in his last 3 starts. His strikeout numbers are back where they need to be. The home run ball is a bit of a worry. He's given up at least 1 in his last 4 games. The Tigers, we know, have been improving against righties, but still, I think Peralta's the better option to start this game. I think the bullpens are pretty similar, but I think the Brewers have the much better lineup, and I like their matchup here against Mize. So give me the Brewers here on the money line. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Kansas City Royals. Luis Castillo and Alec Marsh are your starters. I know Marsh has struggled recently, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him give up a few runs early in this game, but I still like the fact that the Royals play such great baseball at Kauffman Stadium, and for me, I think the value lies with the Royals at home in this game. I would take Kansas City on the money line, but I also like the over. Marsh is not in great form. He's given up 10 earned runs in his last 2 starts combined. A lot of home runs. The walks are starting to pile up. So, somebody who started the season as one of the more profitable starting pitchers in baseball, as now, the Royals are 1-3 in his last 4 games, which is not what you want to see. But, Marsh pitched well against the Mariners back on May 15th. It was 5 innings of 1 earned run baseball, 7 strikeouts as well. The Royals did not win that game, but Marsh did his part. And if he does that here, I think the Royals can certainly win this ball game. Luis Castillo, I've mentioned, while he's pitched well recently and, 2 earned runs or fewer his last 5 games looks amazing on paper. I've noticed he's just not as dominant as he was a couple of years ago or even last year, and his strikeout numbers have fluctuated. He's given up a lot of sharp contact, even the control, 3 or more walks in 3 of his last 4 starts. I expect some regression going forward, and against the Royals here at home, a team that we know can crush right into pitching at Kauffman, I think this is going to be a tough spot for Castillo. I'm going to go with the Royals in the over. Next up, the Colorado Rockies taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going to see Ryan Feltner and Kyle Gibson as your projected starters. Back Ryan Feltner the last couple of times. He has not done too well for us. I got to go with the Cardinals in this game and lay the 1.5 runs. Feltner's expected numbers are a lot better than his current ERA, but I just can't back him in his current form. Last 2 starts, 8 2/3 combined, 18 base hits, 15 total runs. 12 of those or 13 of those were earned, 3 home runs as well. I think eventually he'll get back to form, but right now he's not pitching well. And Kyle Gibson on the other side, after a rough start to the season, he's been excellent for St. Louis, giving up 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. His strikeout number starting to pick it up, and he's just been a guy that can go out there and give you 5 to 6 decent innings. And the Cardinals have won 3 of his last 4 games. I think he pitches well enough for the Cardinals to grab a W and a run line cover in this game at Busch Stadium. Next up, the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Miami Marlins. No official starter for Miami, but Ben Lively should be going for Cleveland. Ben Lively, the expected numbers aren't the best. I do expect regression, and I think there's value fading him in this spot and going forward. Similar to a guy like James Paxton, who we've mentioned, had a really good start to the year in terms of the ERA and the win-loss record, but now we're starting to see him regress in a big way, give 7 runs in that last game against the Pirates. I see similar things with Ben Lively, and he's somebody that when he locates his pitches can have some success if he's locating right on the corners, but his stuff isn't good enough. His fastball is usually in the very high 80s or low 90s, which is not really, a modern day starting pitcher. His breaking ball is decent, but it's also can hang down the heart of the plate at times. So if Lively is not locating, exquisitely, he could really get crushed. And we've seen some absolute bomb home runs given up from Lively. We saw 3 home runs given up against the Rangers on May 14th. So I always have that worry about his game. He's been solid. He's been kind of taking over the role that Cal Quantrill had last year with the Guardians in the last few years, but he's still not a type of starting pitcher that I'm looking to back very often. And for that reason, I think there's value with the fish in this game. I'm going to go with the Miami Marlins on the money line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the New York Yankees. We're going to see Gavin Stone and Nestor Cortez as your starters. This one is 7:35 Eastern start time on Fox. Now, obviously, 2 of the better teams in baseball. 2 solid starting pitching options. Cortez has been excellent at Yankee Stadium. Stone's been excellent on the road and in great form right now. For me, and you look at both of these offenses, the Yankees crushing righties, the Dodgers crushing lefties. For me, Stone does a good job of keeping the ball on the ground and limiting home runs. He's only given up 4 home runs in 62 innings this season. That's really crucial against Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees, who are, even with Judge having a slow start to the year at the beginning of the season, still second in the league in home runs hit, and the Dodgers right behind him. But if Stone's able to keep the ball down, he's only given up 1 home run in his last 4 starts combined. I think he'll have success. The Dodgers are 4-1 in his last 5 games. Cortez on the other side has given up 3 bombs in his last 2 starts combined. He's not really pitching deep into ball games. 4 1/3, 5 1/3, 5 1/3 again. Only 1 of his last 5 starts, he went more than 5 1/3 innings of work. So, you're relying a lot on that Yankees bullpen, which has been good so far. Like we've mentioned, the ERA is solid, but they are 19th in xFIP. We do expect some pretty big regression from this Yankees bullpen going forward. I honestly think the Dodgers bullpen is better right now. The ERAs are pretty similar, but LA, the much better expected numbers. I'm going to roll the Dodgers in this game. I'm going to take them on the money line on the road. I know the Yankees are going to be a popular play, as they usually are, but I like the Dodgers in this spot. I think we're getting a really good price with LA. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Diego Padres. Ryan Nelson and Matt Waldron are your starters. Don't love either of these starting pitching options in this game. Waldron has struggled at Petco Park, and he also was not great in this last start against these Diamondbacks a few games ago. And, Ryan Nelson's also struggled in 2024 with that ERA at 5.44. Now, he's been a bit better on the road this season, but still, for me, I think both of these starting pitchers cancel each other out in the early innings, and I trust this Padres bullpen more if it's a close game late. So that's why I'm going to side with the Padres on the money line. I'd also lean towards the over in this game because, like I said, I don't love either option. Start this one. I think we could see some runs early and often. So I'll lean towards the over and the Padres on the money line. And the final game we're going to talk about for the Saturday card in Major League Baseball, it's the Houston Astros taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Hunter Brown and Tyler Anderson are your projected starters. Now, Brown's got that still at ERA at 6.18, which looks pretty rough on paper, but he's definitely been a lot better since the beginning of the season. In fact, he's given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 games. His strikeout numbers have been better. Now, the last game against the Twins, 2 home runs given up. Not what you want to see, but he's gone 6 innings or more in the last 3 games. He's definitely making improvements. Now, the Astros are still 1-4 in its last 5 starts, so he hasn't necessarily been more profitable recently, but I do see him, improving his game. Now you're facing the Angels, who have not been great against right-handed pitching in the last month. Tyler Anderson's got a 2.37 ERA for now, but we do expect big-time regression going forward. He's somebody that doesn't really miss a lot of bats, only hits 50 strikeouts in 76 innings. He has a pretty high walk rate of 32 walks given up in 76 innings, with 9 of them in the last 2 starts combined. And it's not like he keeps the ball on the ground or limits sharp contact. He gives up a lot of fly balls and does give up sharp contact at times. So I think we see big-time regression in his game. You're facing the Astros, who we know have been one of the better lineups against left-handed pitching the last few seasons. I think Houston gets to him early and often. They just saw him not too long ago now. They really weren't able to do much against him in that game, but they still, I think they'll have plenty of opportunities in this one with plenty of runners on base, and I think this could be an ugly final score here in favor of the Astros. Give me the Houston Astros laying 1.5, 2.5 runs, and maybe even go up to 3.5 runs. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bet, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.